All right, everyone. We are back for episode 52. 52 of Stub Luv Live. And this is going to be a great show. This is all about wrestling tickets. Woo! Hold on, I got wrestling stubs coming in. Let me get them on. Oh, I got the bomb tickets. He's coming in too. Hold on, let me get them both in. Just let me get David in first, and I'll get you in a second. What's up, David?
Hey, how's it going, Howard?
Good, good, good. Hold on. Let me get Mike in. Hold on one second. This is great. Oh, I'm excited. Let's see if we can get Mike in. The shirt. That's right, Papa Jim. The bomb tickets in the house.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on, Mike?
I'm here.
You are here. So we have David, who is Wrestling Stubs with a Z on IG, and we have Mike Violi, the bomb tickets on IG. Hey, Mike, where's Sean with all his wrestling knowledge to be able to talk to us about wrestling tickets tonight?
His knowledge is non-existent. Plus, it's baseball season, so he's focused on baseball now.
It's great. It's great. I got Taylor Hamilton in the house. I'm excited. We got a lot of good people. Here's Wheelers. Yeah, we have matching shirts. Yeah, we all kind of do a little bit tonight. Yeah, it is a little bit. It is a little bit. Well, so Mike's been on the show before. David is not. David is really a wrestling ticket expert. He's like a guru. And Mike knows a whole lot about wrestling. And Mike is really smart and has been ahead of the curve on buying a lot of wrestling tickets. So, David, if you would just open it up, tell us, how did you get into ticket collecting, and then how did it kind of evolve into wrestling tickets?
Yeah, sure. So I started collecting tickets about 4 years ago. I had started to dabble back into cards a bit, didn't know what I was doing, bought a lot of junk. I had started to collect, there's a football player named Robert Lewandowski. At the time he was playing for Bayern Munich. And I had started to collect his cards, and I had seen a number of, news articles about the Jordan and the Jackie Robinson tickets, and so that got me thinking, well, maybe I can try to collect some of Lewandowski's soccer tickets. And so I went on and found some. I was initially going to just limit myself to that, and then as I continued to just search for other soccer players, it kind of just grew and grew and grew. So over a 3-year period or so, I ended up accumulating about 2,000 or so soccer tickets, a lot of debuts and other moments, and a lot of searching on eBay Germany, eBay UK, eBay France. That led to finding sellers who had a lot more tickets than what they had listed on eBay. One in particular, as an example, had roughly 25,000 tickets, a list of 25,000 tickets, and I combed through that list over the course of several months and ended up buying at least 500 tickets from him. One of the bigger ones was actually a basketball ticket, which was the USA versus Angola, the first game in the '92 Olympics for the Dream Team. I paid about $10 for that one. Most of these tickets were in the $5 to $10 range that I acquired. Very rarely do I spend over $100 on a ticket. I have a couple with me to share during this live session here, but that's kind of how I got into tickets. Then I started.
Let me take a pause for a second. Let me take a pause. So, Mike, David has bought tickets, wrestling tickets, soccer tickets, and he says that most everything that he's bought, he's got some biggies, he's never paid more than $200 for. In fact, most of them are five. What's that?
There's one that I paid over 200 for.
Yeah, so most of them are real low value. He finds them for $5-10. But you know what he's doing, Mike? And we're not doing it. We're not doing it. He's going on eBay Germany, eBay France, eBay Italy, unless you are doing it, Mike. But he's actually doing it, and you got to speak the language, so he's doing it through Google Translation. You doing any of that, Mr. Violi?
I'm not working that hard. I wish I had more motivation. I was like, I feel like I have my outlets, and I haven't gone down the eBay, the foreign sites. I know there's some other ones out there, and I haven't gone down that rabbit hole. But it's like, man, there's only so many outlets I feel like I can search, and I haven't done those.
I know. So tell us the evolution, David, into wrestling.
Yeah, so I've always been a wrestling fan, and so I started getting back into it a couple of years ago, and I kind of just naturally, well, if I'm collecting tickets, let me see what I can find out there for wrestling. I had looked at one point or another for basketball, baseball, football, but usually what you see is on eBay in particular is what I would potentially be looking for. It's, someone has it, but it's at a much higher price than I would like to pay. It's not like a team one versus team two, and you're able to get a nice deal of $10. So a lot of the things I had been searching for were much higher value price point than I would like to pay. So moved into wrestling, starting with anything I could find related to WWF, WCW, WWE. Eventually, it branched out to the Japanese wrestling promotions, where I have a bulk of my collection is actually from Japan.
Yeah.
I made a couple of trips to Japan over the last few years, and so that also kind of helped to kind of dig up some really cool tickets.
So Mike, how did you get into wrestling? Other than being a big fan growing up, what brought you into wrestling tickets?
Well, I'm kind of general tickets all over the place, but I don't know. Wrestling tickets are, man, I feel like wrestling ticket collectors are hardcore. Like, love the wrestling tickets. And when I first started collecting, that was some of the big ones I wanted to find, like some of the early WrestleManias, some of the bigger WWE events or matches. So just kind of doing that whole, I have my list of things I'm looking for, put my save searches in on eBay, and if I ever see something on the auction houses, then just kind of try to lock one down and go after it. Mostly I'm an '80s, '90s kid, and then I kind of back into the whole Attitude Era, late '90s. So my focus has kind of been on those those areas of those times of wrestling.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much the same. I don't watch it that much anymore, but I liked it back in the Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man days, and I watched a little bit with The Rock and Stone Cold, but I don't really follow it too much anymore. But I still am a big wrestling fan generally, and I'm still a big wrestling collector overall. So. David was educating me, and I know Mike, you're pretty astute on this stuff too. Um, he was educating me on the differences between like someone having their debut in a particular wrestling. So maybe their WWE debut versus the WCW debut, and then there's dark matches, and then there's appearances where they just appeared but they didn't
Right.
wrestle. And what does PSA do with all of that? And I got to tell you, so why don't you start with that, David? So what are the differences, and how does PSA deal with it on the flips?
Um, it is a complicated question. The definition of a debut, and depending on who you speak to, you kind of will get different answers. I guess the most important one would be what within a WWE context, what they consider to be the official debut of a particular wrestler. And sometimes that may or may not be their first match with the company. That may or may not be their first TV appearance with the company. It all depends upon for however they determine that a particular match happened to be an individual's a wrestler's debut. And so I have a couple that I don't know if Mike, you had any thoughts on that, and I can go through some examples of
But yeah,
TV debuts versus.
yeah,
Yep, go
yeah.
ahead.
So show us those, David. Go through it with us a little bit. So, like, there are dark matches. What's a dark match?
So a dark match is essentially a match that occurs before or after, usually a TV taping, that is not aired on TV. Sometimes it's a tryout match um, where a wrestler might not be signed with the WWE. It might just be a tryout match, and then they kind of just go off and wherever go on to other kind of independent shows or wherever else that they're wrestling. Um, so as an example, or they can be signed to a developmental contract and they just haven't appeared on TV. So
Right.
this is I don't know if you can see it. This is
Yeah,
John Cena's first match for the WWF. This was in October of 2000, so about 18 months before his TV or official debut in June 2002.
so
So you have
David,
that.
what does
Yep.
PSA put on the flip?
Unofficial WWF debut dark match.
Huh.
Yeah,
Have
so
you ever
unofficial
seen one of
debut.
those, Mike? I've never seen a flip
No,
with that on it.
dark matches are really hard. They're rare. I don't really see them ever. I don't know if I've ever seen one on a flip or where it says unofficial. But that's kind of some. I know there's hardcore wrestling collectors that are out there that know the exact dark matches of the first, quote unquote debut for wrestlers. And I never really seen hardly. I have never seen the Cena one or any of these other ones.
So what David do they put for the Cena real debut? Do you know?
I don't have one myself. I would assume it's either WWE debut or
Yeah,
TV
probably.
debut. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome. That's so cool. What's the pop on that dark match for
I
Cena?
think
One?
there's just one as far as I know, but there's also one on eBay right now for 4,000 if you had any interest.
Mike? Mike, you in?
Ooh, I don't know if I want
No.
to spend that kind of cash.
So here's another one which is interesting. This is a ticket from, I don't know if you can
Put it
see
down
it
a
here.
little
This
bit.
is,
Yeah, put it down, put it down.
yeah, so
Yeah,
this
there you go.
is Edge's first ever match for the WWF. It was a house show. He was wrestling as Sexton Hardcastle. Show up in Toronto, so it would have been from his hometown where he wrestled. And so I don't know if he was under contract at the time or what, but this was his first ever match, and he actually has an Instagram post that talks about this match and this day. And so it's interesting. Now, what his official TV debut is versus I don't know when that I don't have that off the top of my head when that took place, but his first ever match for the WWF, similar to John Cena at a house show in 1996 in Toronto.
So let me ask you this, David.
Yep.
Because he didn't wrestle as the Edge, would that be different relative to what PSA would put on the flip?
Possibly. It would likely say Sexton Hardcastle and then in parentheses Edge.
You see, because I'm going to
do.
say this. We've seen a couple of these. I've done a couple of these. Mike, you and I have one of these. This is my Rock debut. But in reality, The Rock didn't wrestle this match as The Rock. He wrestled this match as Rocky Maivia.
I guess the difference might be, it depends upon if it's a gimmick change versus a name change. For example, Kane or Glenn Jacobs, he was Isaac Yankem in 1995, returned as Kane in 1997, and this is the Kane debut when he ripped off the door on the Hell in a Cell and gave the Undertaker the tombstone. And so he had been with the company for a few years and wrestled under different gimmicks. This would be kind of your gimmick debut here. One of the most memorable debuts in WWE history for sure.
Wow. So what's the TV taping? Like, what's the TV taping debut or the TV debut versus the actual debut? Because I've seen them. PSA puts it on differently.
So here is one example. Where is it? Where you have what WWE considers the official debut that actually took place at a house show, and this would be Kevin Nash, Diesel. So, and this is one of the rare instances where, or at this event rather, that a title changed hands during a house show. So, Diesel had accompanied Shawn Michaels to the ring for an Intercontinental title match against Marty Jannetty, and Shawn Michaels won the title. And so, Kevin Nash did not wrestle during the event. He was just there as a bodyguard, but it's considered his WWF debut. So there's a lot of inconsistencies with the debut, and it really all depends on how it's determined at what point in time, and so there's no consistency.
So that one's Kevin Nash's debut, but it's really not even a match that he wrestled in.
Right, he did not wrestle.
Just an appearance.
Right.
See this, Mike?
There's a lot of wrestling debut options out there.
Yeah,
this is crazy. This is crazy. So wait, before we get into this, David, he educated me yesterday. And let me just tell you, Mike, I was blown away. So let me show you a couple of things that he told me. So he said there are 3 websites for wrestling to learn about wrestling events, debuts, matches, moments, appearances. So I, of course, went and dug some of that stuff up. And one of them is called cagematch.net. And I went on the website and I printed out some of these things. So this is cagematch.net. This was the homepage. And it just starts to go through match guides. And you have all, you can look at events, matches, wrestlers, promotions, titles. And it gives you all of the information as to the dates on all of these things. So it's pretty accurate. The only thing, Mike, is David told me PSA doesn't use this. Is that correct, David?
That's correct. They use Wrestling Data, which is another website, similar information. But yes, for some reason they use one over the other, and so yeah, it is what it is.
So there's not just one of these sites, Mike. There's 3. This one's called The History of the WWE. And like a dummy today, because I was just going crazy at work. I had a light day today. It's got all of the years, so you can pull it up by years. Then it has title histories, so you can pull it up by title histories. Then it's got TV shows, pay-per-view shows, arena results, tournaments. I mean, it's got it all. And then like a dope, I printed out what I thought was just the first couple of pages, and it was like the whole website. So it's just wild. And you go on here and it tells you like in a certain year, like so January 24th of 1984 in Allentown, Pennsylvania at Agricultural Hall, these were the matches, and this is who wrestled against each other, and this is what happened in them. Again, lists and lists of this, Mike. But David,
it's looking up newspaper articles about old baseball or basketball games. It's all in one place. You can do a Control F and do your search. Very easy.
Data, so much data out there, and wrestlers, man, it's like a whole other beast.
Yeah. Whole nother beast, except David, PSA doesn't use this.
It's not listed as their official, on their official, their list of official sources or recognized sources. And I had some issues with a particular ticket where they would not put on the flip what I would have liked them to put on based upon, what's on these websites. And also there are a number of articles that talk about the particular event that I had wanted documented on the flip.
And they wouldn't put it on. So here's another one. WrestlingData.com. Am I correct on that one? Yeah, WrestlingData.com. Now, this is the one that PSA uses.
Correct.
This is the official one, and it talks about shows in every year. It gives you the date. It gives you all the information. 3 sources, Mike.
And I think about wrestling is, we talk about ticket buying being a treasure hunt. Like, you could find some serious, diamonds in the rough about some of these dark matches or first appearance, because people sell tickets and they don't realize how many different cool, amazing events or debuts may have happened at one show.
That's right.
And then there you have it. If you're willing to go through all the research and data, or you have a favorite wrestler, I mean, you can find some really cool moments and go get their tickets for, like David says, on the cheap, like $5-10, or buy a lot, and you find 2 or 3 amazing, moments or events in there.
So David, show us what you've show us what you've accomplished. Show us some of the give us a couple 2-3 that you've bought for $10 that have been in your world gold.
So this is the example where the PSA did not honor my request to put certain information on the flip. So this, I don't know if you have a slight reflection here. Let me shut off my computer screen. So this is an event from Allentown, PA. So these tickets are pretty rare to find. It's an event from May 29th, 1984. So Cyndi Lauper appeared on Piper's Pit. So she appeared on WWF television for the first time, starting the Rock and Wrestling connection. PSA would not put that on the flip, but this was a $10 find for this one here.
So, David, before you go to the next one,
Yep.
so the reason why they wouldn't put it on the flip is because WrestlingData.com does not publish like appearances or events that happen outside of the ring.
Yeah, it's strictly Wrestling Data is strictly what happens, the matches that occur, not the backstage segments or any interviews or whatever it is. And so, that's my just assumption based upon, because I had given a number of sources and links and documents as part of my request, and they just put what the main event was on the ticket, not the Cyndi Lauper appearance on Piper's Pit, which is one of the key moments in wrestling history.
Agreed.
From the 80s. And so this is another $10 find. I ended up getting it signed by Hulk Hogan. This is Hogan's return to the WWF in 1984. So 3 weeks before he won the heavyweight title at MSG. He returned to the WWF, and I have not sent this into PSA, just how the ticket is ripped. You don't
This is an Allentown ticket, right?
Yeah, you don't have Allentown listed like you do on this one here, and so I'm not sure if PSA would authenticate it, just given that you don't have the location on it. So I haven't. It's likely to just stay raw for now.
That's really cool. That's really cool. What do you got to show off, Mr. Violi?
I guess I could find let me see about some random, like maybe some deals that I've found. Like this is a popular one that's kind of rare. It's when Goldberg beat Hogan at the Georgia Dome, WCW. You don't find too many of these. I think that was like a little like $10, $50 purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
A while back. I post this up real high on eBay and I get hit up all the time, but it's kind of one of those things like, well, if somebody wants to blow me away with a crazy offer, I'll sell it. But Hogan didn't lose many matches like cleanly like he did that one. So that's kind of, I think, a reason why it's kind of a popular ticket to collect. I don't know. I got some random stuff. What are you looking for? Random stuff or more?
Well, I mean, I know you got some big ones there. I mean, I know you picked up a steal of a deal for a full WrestleMania 1 back in a national.
I guess I gotta steal that one
from Hunt.
So it's probably my favorite one. This is the WrestleMania 1 full. This is really rare. A lot of times they're ripped.
Can you flip? Yeah, flip it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the old MSG tickets, especially when they're full. They just look real clean and nice. And the fun story behind that, I was at I think the 2018 or 19 National, and memorabilia.expert had it just sitting there, and they're going to auction it. And I walked by, and it said $1,000, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the steal. I feel like at the time tickets weren't that crazy, and 1,000 was a lot, but to me it's like, this is WrestleMania 1 full, really nice. I mean, it has a crease in the middle, but it's really hard to see it. It's a 1.5, and I offered 800 no matter what he said. I was going to take it, and he's like, oh, I'll meet you at 900. And I was like, boom, sold.
Great.
And that was it. And this is like a PC one. This is one I'll never sell unless somebody like threw an insanely crazy offer at me. Like another cool moment, Hell in a Cell, autographed by Mick and Undertaker. I don't know if many of these out here. And I really like how it came out. I guess the only downside with wrestling tickets is a lot of time they're basic box office. So I think they're really good for signatures because you're not like, signing over some kind of cool logo or emblem or anything.
Right.
I bought this off a guy, I think 3 or 4 years ago, but I mean, if anybody's seen that match, it's got to be one of the craziest matches in wrestling history. I was watching that live, and it was just it was like it would never end. Like he got thrown from the top of the cage, and then he got back up, and then he got slammed through the cage, and then they bought the tacks out, and you're just like, this is the most insane match I've ever watched in my entire life.
It's great. And let me tell you something, Mike. Not an easy ticket right now to get the Undertaker on because I'm actually friendly now with Ryan Fitterman. He's actually a really good guy, but he's pretty particular about what Undertaker signs in the way of tickets. So having that signed by both him and Mankind, that's a pretty good one.
So
This might be my favorite debut when it comes to This is the Undertaker debut,
Ooh,
and if anybody was a fan back in the day, now that was a massive debut because he was the secret partner in the Survivor Series match. I think the Million Dollar Man brought him out, and nobody knew who the guy was going to be. Then he comes out and he just dominated everybody, and everybody was just blown away. And I mean, after that, he was just he was it. So he had like I guess maybe the most successful debut, I would guess, and one of the most successful debuts in wrestling history. That was the beginning of the gimmick, the Undertaker gimmick. 'Cause I think he was in WCW as Mark Mira, Mark, I can't remember
Mark
his name.
Calloway.
Mark Calloway.
That's his real name,
We
Mark Calloway.
also me and him went to the same junior college, but not at the same time. So it's a little fun
Nice.
fact.
Hey, I got to show this off. So our good friend at Hall of Stubs, and guys, man, Hall of Stubs always putting out the data. He did a wrestling data sheet too. And what he's got on here is kind of like some of the bigger tickets in wrestling. Hogan versus Sheik, PSA Pop, 5. Total of 5. Now I know there are more. This is my Hogan versus Sheik. To me, better than WrestleMania 1. Not better than WrestleMania 3, but still pretty darn cool. WrestleMania 1, there are 33 in the pop report. I am a real American. Fight for the right. Everyone remembers it as a kid. No, see, David, you're a little younger than Mike and I. Do you remember it or
a little
not?
bit. I was not alive. No.
David, you don't have to do that to us, man. Make us feel very old. There's only 4 of those in the pop report. It says 59 WrestleMania 3s, 29 Rock debuts, 15 Montreal screw jobs, and 14 Hell in the Cell. So pretty cool data by Hall of Stubs. Yep. And I asked the Hall of Stubs, I'm like, why didn't you put Hogan turns heel on there? And he's like, yeah, I just forgot it. But this is one I picked up not that long ago.
Great.
And that's Hogan turns heel. And I haven't sent it in yet. It's got a little missing piece over here, but I'm waiting for Hogan to do a signing in person. I don't know that I want to send that one through the mail. So he does some shows where he does like appearances at his stores in Clearwater and in Orlando, and he lines people up, and it's great. So hopefully I'll be able to get that one done. David, what else do you have to show us?
Yeah, I have a couple of others, but one thing I want to mention is, so Fitterman does not have the WWE contract anymore for auto. That's now Fanatics. So you can get Undertaker will sign tickets.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so he was signing tickets at WWE World last year. It was a slightly higher premium, so a photo would be 200, tickets were 250. He will be at Fanatics Fest in a couple of months, and so
wow.
I am debating whether or not to get something signed by him, but so he will sign tickets again. Or at least it's easier now that Fanatics has a contract with WWE as opposed to Finnerman.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
The question, but enticing as well. But
yeah,
for your current wrestlers, they're now more accessible. So this is one of the few tickets that I purchased that was over. The only ticket that I purchased that's over $200. So this is when Hulk Hogan defeated Antonio Inoki to win the IWGP Heavyweight title. So his first world title, and then it ended up sending it in to get signed as well.
What year? What year was that, David?
1983. Yeah.
Wow.
So a year before,
How
about
tough
6 months
was that
before
to
he returned.
find?
So it's generally speaking, the tickets from Japan, the events in Tokyo are easier to find than your smaller cities. So this took place at the Sumo Hall in Ryogoku, and so the attendance there, or capacity rather, is about 12,000. So generally speaking, those tickets are easier to find. I think nowadays they've just been gobbled up. At one point a few years ago, they were going for $30-$40 each. I ended up paying about $225 for it. And so,
David, you also lived in Japan, didn't you, for a while?
no.
Oh, you just
I lived in
traveled.
Holland for about a year and a half or so. But yeah, I've traveled. I made a few trips over to Japan. The last trip, my last trip was in November, so just a few months ago.
Are you able to find any tickets over in Japan, or not really?
Mostly the movie tickets, not as many. Some wrestling. I would have liked to been able to find more wrestling, more soccer, but it was mostly movie tickets that I ended up picking up. A handful of wrestling. This was one that I did pick up. This is Chris Jericho's first ever match in Japan. So I think it was his 15th match in his career. So very early match in his career, and ended up sitting behind him during a screening of his new film, Dark Match, here in New York City a few months, I guess, in January. And after the screening, he signed the ticket. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's really cool. That's awesome. So, Mike, do you just do tickets, or do you do other things in wrestling?
I have some random programs. I should have actually snagged those. Nothing crazy. Like, I think a Survivor Series. I think the Undertaker Survivor Series, or some other random ones, like a WrestleMania one. I'm trying to think. I may have some random doodads here and there, but mainly it's mainly a ticket.
So I was gonna ask Mr. Zitter to make a guest appearance tonight for a quick second, but he's traveling. So I have a picture of it. He does not have an Andre the Giant WWF debut ticket, but he sent me a pic. Andre the Giant WWF debut program in Philadelphia. Crazy, right? Crazy. But I got to tell you, I think what I picked up is super cool. This is Andre the Giant's first wrestling magazine cover, mainstream wrestling magazine cover. Look how young the Giant looks there. Like, he looks like a young man. And then look what his name is on this magazine. Monsieur Eiffel Tower. It doesn't even say Andre the Giant. It just says Monsieur Eiffel Tower. Like, that's pretty badass.
Yeah,
it's not a ticket, but it's badass.
No, I like how the program's displayed. I guess they say PSA is going to start grading magazines and programs and things like that. So I think that should really help.
That's going to really help the market. So this here is cool too. Even though he's not on the cover, this is Hulk Hogan's first match at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, this is a cool program as well. These you can find, both of those programs, that Andre and this one, you can find on eBay randomly for 10, 15, 20 bucks. Now, if you find better quality ones or ones that are graded, you're going to pay more than that. And then, I'll just finish out my nonsense because, I want people to realize I'm hardcore too, as it relates to wrestling. I played with these LJN figures my whole childhood. And, when I had the opportunity to buy a Hogan sealed, without anyone messing with the bubble and no one messing with the seal, I had to do that. And then, I'm still part of the card game. I have a couple of signed cool wrestling tickets, cards. The 1982 All-American, Hogan and Flair. I think I have a Backlund somewhere. But yeah, I just love it. This stuff really brings me back to my childhood. What about you guys?
Yeah, it's very, very nostalgic. I love watching I get Instagram videos all the time. They just randomly put them on because I know I'll watch them. Like, I was watching Hogan Warrior like an hour or two ago, WrestleMania 6, which is actually my most anticipated sporting event of my life, was Hogan Warrior WrestleMania 6. I actually have the ticket.
Wow.
It's a pretty nice one. It's like they're not too hard to find. They're not expensive, but I don't think people realize how massive of a match that was, because it was basically the first face versus face, like first major good guy versus good guy match. And, back in the day, they'd fight jobbers all throughout, the season until you got to the big pay-per-views, and then they'd finally meet up. So the anticipation would last for months. So when that day finally arrived, it was like, oh my God, it's here. And it was like the greatest
Yeah.
thing ever for a 10-year-old.
Yeah. So David, let me ask you this. What are the Grail tickets that we haven't found yet relative to wrestling? Like, what have we not found yet?
Yeah, so I myself, I try to focus on kind of tickets that the less mainstream tickets. So because if everyone's going after the same thing, then you'll pay a premium, or you might not be quick enough on with the eBay app to jump in on time before someone else jumps in. So a couple of things that come to mind from kind of WWE, WWF. And Howard, you showed off the Rock's debut at Survivor Series, but 9 months before,
Here we
in
go.
March,
Here we go.
he had his first match for the WWF against the Brooklyn Brawler, and I believe that was also televised. Interestingly enough, in addition to that being the Rock's first ever match, it's also the first match in WWF where Steve Austin wrestled under the name Steve Austin as opposed to the Ringmaster.
Wow.
I actually have a ticket of, it's kind of a weird one where it's the first match for Stone Cold or the Ringmaster where he shaved his head and he went in with the black briefs, the black tights, the shaved head, a little bit of a goatee, kind of the slow evolution to Stone Cold. But looking that Rock first match in March 10th, 1996 is one of them. And
You've
Mike,
never seen one. You've
I
never
haven't seen one, but I've also only been doing this for 15 months, collecting wrestling. So, and then, Mike, you had mentioned you have the Undertaker debut. A few days before he wrestled in, well, I guess 2 days before, and then 3 days before he wrestled in two matches. I think one in Rochester, one in Syracuse, where he wrestled as Kane the Undertaker. Those were also televised matches, as far as I know. I'm not aware, or I haven't seen one of those pop up at any point, but those are a few that I would like to have in my collection because you have quite a few of the Rock's debuts out there. Same with the Undertaker's debut, but you don't have the kind of the first match with the company. I do have the Undertaker's at the time he was wrestling as Dice Morgan. So the Undertaker's first match in Japan, I do have that.
That's really
which was about 8 months
cool.
before his WWF debut, or 9 months in February 1990 before he debuted in November 1990 for the WWF. That took a while to track down, but
Yeah, I'm sure it did. That's pretty cool. That's amazing. So here, I did this. This is the one I want. This is the one I want. This is Hulk Hogan's WWF debut. Brought to the ring by Classy Freddie Blassie. And it's crazy. I read this in preparation for this. It says his debut was to take place at the television taping in Allentown, Pennsylvania, against a journeyman known as Harry Valdez. This didn't come off smoothly as Hogan was arrested the night before for having a gun in his car. Luckily, Gorilla Monsoon had some connections and was able to get Hulk released in time for the taping. The day of his WWF debut, Hogan had new boots and tights made up. Vince Sr. wanted him to come out of the ring in a robe or jacket, but Hogan didn't have one, so Gorilla Monsoon let him borrow his ring jacket. Pretty damn cool. And I got to tell you, next time I see Hulk, I'm going to ask him that if that's really true, if he got arrested for gun possession the night before of his debut in Allentown, Pennsylvania. But I want that ticket. I want that ticket. I don't know what it would cost if someone like Dave Johanna found it before I did. I bet you it would be a big number. But if I could find that ticket, man, that would be amazing. Now, I think, David, you told me, give me, you don't want to give away all your secrets, but give away one of your secrets here. Give away your secret. It didn't pan out, but give it away.
So, trying to remember which one I told you, but
I
so
I think you told me about joining a group out
oh yeah, yeah.
in.
So there are a number of wrestling, Facebook groups out there that, and very rarely do you see posts about tickets. It's mostly figures and promos and photos and belts. Uh, but you rarely see posts on tickets. So um, the Allentown tickets, kind of going back to Allentown, or I rarely see them pop up. And so I had joined a group maybe about a year ago or so, and I just conducted a search in the group for a ticket, kind of just scrolling down, just keep on scrolling down. About a year and a half prior to when I joined, uh, the group admin had actually posted a bunch of tickets. And uh, so I guess this is where kind of the mistake that I made was I commented on the post asking if the tickets were still available. That then brought the post up to the very top of the group, and within minutes, someone claimed one of the tickets, Allentown tickets. I had claimed the rest, but someone had claimed one of the tickets, and that one ticket that I missed out on was the first ever Piper's Pit. Uh, and so I ended up getting the other 5 or 6 Allentown tickets, one being the Cyndi Lauper Piper's Pit show, another being the Hulk Hogan returns to WWF, another being and there's a number of other Piper's Pit segments that are pretty memorable, and so they were all $10 each. So I claimed all
Wow.
those. I claimed the Hulk Hogan's first ever match as the Hulk Machine, and I ended up getting that signed by Hogan recently.
You wouldn't,
I must.
you wouldn't sign the Hulk machine, though.
He would not sign the Hulk Machine, right? Right. Um, but through that group, I also found these 2 tickets, rounding out the 4 tickets that I paid over $100 for. One being WrestleMania 3. He had it up for 150. I claimed it immediately. Ended up getting it signed by Hogan. And then this other one here is a ticket to a WWF event on the USS Intrepid in New York City. So that'd be July 4th rather, 1993, where Lex Luger slammed Yokozuna.
Yep.
And so
Yeah.
this I will plan to get signed by Lex Luger at some point over the next few months. He does a number of appearances,
Yeah.
so this I will get signed by him.
That's really
This I paid
cool.
also 150 for. The seller had a number of them, so all of these tickets had come from Mark Eaton, who is a former bellkeeper for the WWF, and
Wow.
so, or timekeeper, whatever it is, and so yeah, and maybe that's at least for the Allentown. Maybe that's why they survived, because they had come from somebody who had worked for the WWF for 30 plus years,
Wow.
and he had a bunch of tickets. I don't know what I missed out on, because once the seller sold a ticket, he then deleted the image, and so I don't know what I missed out on when the post was initially kind of posted back in
You may have missed out on that.
2023,
That one.
possibly. But I know the
Was
one I did
We
miss
got
out
to do,
on.
Allentown?
Mike. We got to start meshing in with the Allentown, PA crowd on
I would say
Facebook.
was Allentown a home base for a lot of their events
So
back in the day?
starting in I guess I don't know if it was in '83, and then through the first half of 1984, they would tape their wrestling. I don't know if it was Wrestling Challenge TV taping. So each show, for example, on January 4th, we had the Hulk Hogan's return. They would tape 3 weeks of shows, right? And so you'd
Okay.
have the 3 weeks of shows taped on the 4th, and then they'd return 3 weeks later on the 25th, tape another 3 weeks of shows, and then it goes to the 14th, and then etc. So every 3 weeks they were there, and they were taping three weeks of shows. And so I think it was for about a year, and then after that, then they moved to Poughkeepsie, New York. So you had a number of debuts that took place in Poughkeepsie. I have not seen any of those tickets either, or very rarely. That's similar kind of every 3 weeks they're taping 3 weeks of shows, and then they aired them on tape delay.
So
That's another
I
kind of,
think some
and
of these guys they would wrestle like 3 times a night when they were
yeah, yeah,
taping.
yeah,
They would
yeah.
literally, Mike, wrestle 3 matches a night, and they would tape them all.
Iron Men back in the day.
It's crazy, just crazy. I mean, you think about what these guys do to their
That's
bodies,
right.
and it's just, it's crazy that some of these guys are still alive, like Hogan and Flair. And then you know a lot of them died young, And then on top of that, you see some of them like Lex Luger. I mean, he can't walk, and some of these guys are just in terrible shape. But they put themselves through a lot. So we've been going for 45 minutes, and as you can tell, we've just like scratched the surface. We'll have to do another wrestling show, but we're gonna have David run the gauntlet in the beginning, and then I'm gonna ask Mike and David some questions. So let's run the gauntlet. So
All
David,
right. Hot seat.
stub or full?
Uh, to me, it doesn't really matter, but I guess I can go with full. Whatever
All
I can
right.
find.
All right. Now that's fair. Debuts or moments?
I'm going to go with debuts. I have about 130 debuts across WWF, WWE, WCW, New Japan, All Japan.
PSA, Beckett, or no slab at all?
It will have to be PSA after some past experience with Beckett.
Okay. All right. A PSA 10 ticket or a PSA Pop 1 ticket?
Oh, I did just get my first 10 popped yesterday. I got 3 of them, 3 10-10s. So I did show those off on Instagram. So I'm going to go with the PSA 10.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I saw those. Those were pretty cool. You were going to show them today, but they're not back yet. So we'll reserve that for our wrestling show part 2. So I'm gonna ask this to David, and I'll ask it to Mike. Which would you rather have, a Hulk Hogan WWF debut or an Andre the Giant WWF debut?
I'm going to go with Andre the Giant. There are a couple of tickets that I did not show off here, but this is his last ever match before he passed away a month later.
Yeah.
And it took place in Japan. And so, yeah, definitely Andre the Giant. I also have hundreds of photos of Andre the Giant from his time in Japan and elsewhere. And so,
Andre. Mike, where are you going?
I guess I'll go Hogan just because he was just the face of the franchise for so many years. Even though I didn't care for him back in the day.
Yeah, no, I'd go Hogan as well. I mean, I love Andre, but Hogan's Hogan, and when I think of wrestling, I think Hulk Hogan. So I asked Mike this one first. Hogan turns heel, Hell in the Cell, or Montreal Screwjob?
As the vet or ticket?
Ticket.
I guess I'll go Hogan turns heel because that was such a I still remember my friend coming over. I didn't watch it, and they just came in the house and they're like, "You missed it. Wrestling's changed forever." I'm like, "What are you talking about? No, Hogan, he's a bad guy now." I was like, "Yeah." It's just like I remember it. It's like it was yesterday. They were freaking out. So I go with the major freak out moment.
People ask. I don't know how that ticket is not more popular, like out there. Not. I mean, it's popular, but how there aren't more copies. I mean, it was a regular arena. I mean, some people have talked to me. There's a really good wrestling ticket collector's name's Tyler Hansen, and he's collection buyouts on Instagram. But he's like, maybe people were just disgusted or upset and they threw their tickets down, or
I think that's
they
probably
didn't.
part of it.
Maybe. I mean, I can't think of any other reason why there's no real number of tickets out there. What about you, David? Hogan turns heel, Hell in the Cell, or Montreal Screwjob?
probably Hell in the Cell.
Yeah, pretty amazing event and pretty cool ticket. So David, who would you rather date, Miss Elizabeth or Wendy Richter? We're losing Violi.
Yeah, I don't know. No comment.
He's a married man. And I guess the final one is, if you could pick one ticket that, your grail ticket of all tickets, where are you going?
Interesting. It would probably be the Andre the Giant if I was able to find the Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
Either debut in WWF or it would have been 3 years prior his debut in Japan. Or the Hogan debut in Japan, which was in 1980.
Found anyone find one of those?
Not that I've seen, or it's not in the pop report.
Yeah.
Either of those. There might actually be I actually think there's an Andre the Giant WWF debut.
Yeah, I think I've seen
think so.
one. Yeah, I think there is one in the
Yeah.
Pauper. I don't know that I've actually seen it with my own eyes, but well, we lost the bomb tickets, but he was great tonight. David, you were phenomenal. Just loaded with information. To think that you've only been collecting wrestling tickets for like 15 months is absurd. I know we only scratched the surface with you, but we've got so much more to talk about. We'll definitely do a part two. If anyone wants to reach out to David, he's Wrestling Stubs with a Z on Instagram. He's a really good guy, tons of knowledge, always happy to help. So reach out to him, ask him any questions that you have. Episode 52 of Stub Luv Live is done. David, thanks so much for being on. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
You too, Mike. All right, have a good night.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.